Next name. Next name is Mitchell Danson. Mitchell Danson. Okay. My freshman year, the second semester, I started working in the registrar's office, and there was this real geeky kid that worked in the registrar's office with us. He had black curly hair, braces, sometimes wore glasses, was kind of nerdy, and at the same time he was kind of a snob. Was that Mitchell Danson? I'll have to think about that one. I think he was from Eugene, Oregon. I think he was friends with Kevin and Scooter and Carla and Roxanne. Yeah. I didn't really know a lot about him. Yeah, I'll have to come back to that one, Mitchell Danson. Okay, next name. Next name is Julie Davis. Okay, Julie, I think out of all of my Westminster friends, I think I know the least about you. Your freshman year was my senior year, and my senior year at Westminster was just nuts. I remember seeing you on campus a lot. We would pass each other, and hi, Julie. And you were a sweetheart. You were very nice and cute, had a great smile, bubbly. I don't even think we shared any classes together. Okay, Julie, if memory serves me correct, you majored in aviation, yeah? Which means that you might be flying planes, like right now, yeah? Which means if I were to board a plane at the Salt Lake International Airport, would you be my pilot? Because that would be really cool. Okay, next name. Next name is Mindy Wennergren. Oh, Mindy. Speaking of the registrar's office, you started at the registrar's office halfway through, I think, my freshman year. Okay, so in order for me to talk about Mindy, I have to talk about Cheryl Phillips, who was our boss at the registrar's office. Cheryl Phillips was a very reserved woman. She had a wall around her. It was really hard for me. I'm just talking about my experience, okay? She was really hard to get to know. She actually scared the hell out of me. And then Mindy comes in and starts working at the registrar's office. And Mindy, you were the total opposite of Cheryl. You balanced each other out. It's like Cheryl was the strict father and you were the gentle, loving mom. You were warm, approachable, funny. You and I dealt with all the drama between Barbara and Nancy in the office for all those years. I could come and talk to you about anything. I think I confided in you a lot about whatever was happening in my life at the time. You were a godsend in that office. And the reason I stayed for the whole 4 years, in large part, was because of you. And then the fun part, after I graduated and I started working at Pizza Hut as a delivery driver, I started delivering pizzas to you. And it got to the point where if I saw the ticket and I saw it said Mindy, I would put Sean Deliver Only on the ticket so that I would be the one to deliver the pizza to you. And then we would just stand in your doorway and talk. And anytime I think about quail, I think about you, Mindy. It's really good to reconnect with you. Okay, next name. Next name is Leslie Roach, or as I know you, Leslie Bennett. You and I did a play called He Who Gets Slapped. And I had this fat suit on. Gail wanted me to be fat for this part. And so I had like a big pillow where my stomach was, and you would call me your little marshmallow man, and you would poke my stomach and make me giggle like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You were a lot of fun to be in the plays with and to just hang out with. on campus. You and I didn't spend a lot of alone time together, but the thing that I remember most about you, Leslie, is... Okay, let me tell you a really quick story about Miss Leslie Bennett, okay? So I graduated from Westminster in June 1989, and a big group of us graduated that year. In fact, it was the largest graduating class in the history of Westminster College at that time. So there were a lot of graduation parties going on at the same time. You know, everybody's families and friends had come into town to celebrate each individual's or student's graduation. For me, my mom and my stepfather, Tom, drove from California. My dad and my brother drove from Minnesota, as well as both sets of my grandparents drove from Minnesota. And then my best friend from high school, Joe, drove from Reno to come out here to celebrate my graduation from Westminster. And then I had two friends that attended my graduation party at my apartment after the graduation ceremony, and that was Glenn Kazire, Glenn Charles, as I call him, and you, Leslie Bennett. You, Leslie Bennett, are one of the only people on the planet that have ever met my brother and my father at the same time. A lot of people met my mom, but nobody's met my dad, much less my brother. So you have a real cool distinction among you and Glenn Charles, but we won't talk about him. Yeah, so that's really, I was looking through some photos of that graduation party, and I saw those photos. In fact, I'm gonna pull one and show you. Okay, I don't know if you can see this picture, but that's my best friend Joe from high school, some black lady and a white chick, I don't know who that is. And then there's Glenn Charles and me, and then you, Leslie Bennett. Isn't that cool? And here's another one of my grandpa Mailing and me, and of course, Cheyenne, my baby, and you. How awesome, huh? So yeah, I have proof that Leslie Bennett attended my graduation party from college. You're awesome, Leslie Bennett. I miss you. Keep in touch. Okay, next name. Next name is Lisa Osborne. Lisa Osborne, you were the PBX operator for Westminster for a while. And what's interesting about working in the registrar's office is none of the offices in Bamberger Hall had a copy machine. So if we needed to make copies of whatever, we would have to go out where the PBX desk was, and we would have to, there was a 3-ring binder. We had to write our name, our department, the date, and the time, and then you would give us this big clunky key that we would have to plug into the copy machine, so it would keep track of how many copies we were making. Well, anyway, so as I would be standing there making copies, I would strike up conversations with you, and you were always very warm, had a nice big smile all the time. I don't think I ever saw you in a bad mood. You're very tall. You and I kind of hung out with different groups of friends, but I just remember your kindness when I would be standing there making copies. All right, Lisa. Take care. I'm glad we're friends on Facebook. Okay, next name. Kim Williams. Kim Williams, you and I, and a very large group of us, starred in Doonesbury, the musical. Remember that play? Of course you do. You had the part of JJ. And one of my favorite scenes in the play, you were sitting in the living room and you had the baby on your lap. And then Mike, who was played by Dave Bengelsdorf, comes storming into the room and he's telling you all about his schedule for the day. And he stops and sees you feeding the baby. I'm going to read this scene to you. Mike says, "Hey, JJ, you've already eaten." And JJ says, "Huh? Oh yeah. I guess I have. I'm sorry, Michael. The kid and I got hungry, so we had some grape nuts. And Mike says, grape nuts? You gave grape nuts to a 6-month-old baby? JJ, he doesn't even have any teeth yet. And JJ, you, Kim Williams, say, I know. It wasn't easy getting them down. He was a real champ, though. He only spit up a couple. Kim Williams. To this day, if I eat grape nut cereal, I think of you. I know it's weird. I don't know. It's our mind works in mysterious ways. But yes, when I see grape nuts down the cereal aisle at the grocery store, I think Kim Williams. Yeah, so thanks for that. Thanks for the grape nuts memory. You and I didn't spend a lot of time together outside of the plays. You also did He Who Gets Slapped. You had a little part in that. But anyway, theater. It's what brought us all together. All right, next name. Carla Jost. Carla Jost. That's Jost as in boast, not juiced as in boost. Carla. Carson City. Carson City, Carla. I can't think of Carson City without thinking of Carla. You and I did quite a few road trips from Salt Lake City to Carson City when we were in college. And we would drive your big green 4-door car. Sometimes I would drive. We would take turns. Carla. Gail McCulloch, our theater professor, cast us in 4 plays together. In one of those plays, I was your husband. In another play, I was your ex-husband. In another play, I was your soon-to-be husband. And as time went on, I never knew what the status of our friendship was. I mean, were we married? Were we divorced? Were we just dating? It was a very confusing time for me. And then, years later, you informed me that you had your mole removed. Now, you guys, here's the thing. Carla had this mole, okay? Pretend that my arm is Carla's leg, okay? This is her foot, this is her shin, this is her knee, okay? Carla had this brown mole, and it was about right here, right above her foot, right on the other side of her ankle. And it was the shape of like an oval. And I grew very, very fond of that mole. And in fact, I would have to touch it. Whenever I would see Carla, I would have to touch the mole. And I would go, boop, 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 boop. I was in love with that mole. I think I may have even kissed that mole a couple times. If I saw Carla across campus, I would come running up to her just so I could touch the mole. Well, so then when you informed me that you had the mole removed, I was devastated. I actually called in sick to work the next day because I was so nauseous. I was dizzy. I was bumping into the walls. I didn't know how to cope, knowing that you had the mole removed. Carla, I love you. I'm glad that we've reconnected. One of these days, I'm going to come to Carson City. Okay, next name. Next name is Roxanne Menace. That's funny. It's funny that I would draw you next, Roxanne. It's so appropriate. You can't talk about Carla without talking about Roxanne, and you can't talk about Roxanne without talking about Carla. Oh, Roxanne. You were my dancing buddy. You would come over to my dorm room, and I'd hear the little knock on the door, and I'd open the door, and you'd be standing there all cute, and I'd be like, come in, let's dance. And I would put on a record, and we would just dance in my dorm room. Roxanne, the song I'll Be All You Ever Need by Trainier reminds me of you. You and I bonded over JC. I'm not going to get into JC. I don't have enough time. Roxanne, you know who she is. Some of you from Westminster remember her. But out of all of my female friends, you, Roxanne, were the only one that JC did not look at as a threat. And you were the only one female that JC was friends with. And so because JC was friends with you, and she was obsessed with me. You and I bonded over JC because I would come running to you anytime there was some kind of drama or problem with JC, and I would come talk to you about it because you were really the only one that understood what I was going through, and vice versa. Roxanne, remember this? I'll fix it. There was a big group of us had just come back from one of the dances, I think, and we all ended up in the basement of Walker Hall because there was a giant TV screen down there. And we're all drunk. It had been a long night. And I think Tim Rice went to reach for the remote control to turn the TV on. We were going to watch a movie or something. This is like at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he kept going, and the remote wouldn't work. And so I got up and I'm like, I'll fix it. And everything for the next hour that we were down there until like 3 or 4 in the morning, I kept saying, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. And it became one of my catchphrases, so that when I was walking on campus, somebody would see me and they'd be like, I'll fix it. Yeah. The things we remember. Anyway, Roxanne, I adore you. You're one of my all-time favorite people at Westminster. I was very sad when you left and went to the University of Utah. Your birthday is 2 days after mine. You have this incredible mind. You are so intelligent, witty. You're always one step ahead of everybody. You know where the conversation's going. You know how the story ends. And I always admired you, that about you. So one of these days, I want to come to Washington and we're going to go for a hike and then we can go kickboxing. Okay? Okay. All right, next name. Next name is... So I've been sitting here trying to think of who the hell Mitchell Danson is. And remember there was intramural volleyball teams? I think Mitchell Danson he was the captain of a team, and I think he called it the Danson's Dingbats or the Danson's Door Hangers or something like that. Does that ring a bell to anybody?